Assalamu alaikum. This is me, dietitian Mahanur, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the food and nutrition in disasters. We are going to discuss the guidelines prepared by the WHO, Institute of Nutrition of Central America and Panama. So let's start. The nature of the food and nutrition problems depends upon the type of the disaster, its duration, and the size of the area affected, and the nutritional status of the population prior to the disaster. What is the purpose of food aid? Prevent the malnutrition in the population affected by the disaster. It is necessary to plan for the treatment and management of the cases of malnutrition that existed prior to the disaster or which have become acute and will become evident during the aid operations. What are the steps to follow in order to ensure an effective food aid program? Estimate the quantity of the food available. Calculate the dietary needs of the affected population. Determine the food rations in accordance with the characteristics of the population and estimated duration of the effects of the disaster. What are the priorities of a food aid program during the disasters? Immediately provide the food where need is urgent or appears to be, as in the isolated population institution, hospital, refugee camps, and among the rescue teams and aid personnel. Make an essential estimate of the food needs of the affected population, taking in account its demographic characteristics. Identify the food stockpiles elsewhere in the country, food assistance organization, transportation, storage, and distribution. Ensure the safety and suitability of the locally available food and supplies received. Monitor the food and nutrition situation closely so that the supply and rationing of the food can be modified in keeping with the changing conditions. Feeding the victim of the disaster. How do we ensure an appropriate diet given the circumstances? As an immediate measure, provide any population group that is or appears to be at high nutritional risk with 3 or 4 kg of food per person. The important thing at this stage is to provide a sufficient quantity of the energy even if it is not a balanced diet. For a short period of time, 1700 kilocalories daily will prevent the severe deterioration of the nutritional status and famine. How are food aid rations to be calculated? The quantity of the food in a ration should depend on the state of the crisis and on the available resources. For a period of the weeks or even months, and while the victim depends exclusively or almost exclusively on the food aid, rations should aim to provide 17 to 2000 calories per person per day. 1700 to 2000 calories per person per day. What factors should be considered when preparing the rations? The food ration should be as simple as possible. A basic food: rice, corn, wheat flour, a concentrated source of energy, oil or another fat, and the concentrated source of the protein. Although dried vegetables are an excellent source of the protein, it is necessary to taking the cooking difficult in account. Along with the basic rations, vulnerable groups, children under the 5, pregnant and breastfeeding women, and malnourished persons need to receive the supplement. How can we estimate the medium-term needs for the food based on the food rations? Take into account the effect of the disaster on the harvest, livestock, and environmental factors. Approximate number and the composition of the effective population. If the victims are in the shelters without the ability to cook their meals, food must be distributed already cooked. Rations. Raw rations dry are to be given preferably by the family over a certain period of the time, for a week. Composition of a food ration that provides approximately 1700 kilocalories. Simple arithmetic will yield the food needs for a family of the 5, a population of 1000 per day per month. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video.